Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first installment in the Healing and Reconciliation Institute's Wisdom of Elder series. My name is Amelia Ortiz, and I am the Program Director at HRI. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Anita Rodriguez, an esteemed elder and advisor with HRI who hails from Taos, New Mexico. HRI is ever grateful to our elders. In alignment with the values of the organization, if you are able, please donate to thank Anita for sharing her story and her time with us. The link to donate through HRI's PayPal account can be found in the description below. When you donate, please specify in the description that your donation is for Anita and those funds will be sent her way. Thank you so much, and we hope you enjoy. So, Anita, thank you for joining us. I would like to first hear from you. Please give us an introduction of yourself and tell us who you are.
Well, my name is Anita Rodriguez, and I was born in Taos Valley. I grew up on Taos Plaza. My family is one of the founding families of this town. My family has lived on this Indian land for about 300 years. And I have spent my life as an activist and have made a living on the side. And I began as an enjaradora, which is like a traditional craft that has been passed on by oral tradition in the Southwest, exclusively among women. And what it consists of is a technology of adobe finishing. We have the oldest buildings in the United States standing in my beloved town, a building that's over 1,000 years old. And those of us who were born here have watched adobe through all of its stages, from birth through all of its stages of deterioration and remodeling until death. So we learn by osmosis the characteristics of this material. So for 25 years, I practiced as an enjaradora. And the interesting thing about that profession is that until 1975, when I wrote an article introducing the existence of these women who were the carriers of this technology, nobody knew that they existed. All of the art historians, all of those fancy, slick coffee table books had pictures of women plastering, and the caption said, "Women plastering," and that was all. Nobody knew that it was a discrete technology, and these women were an integral part of the entire cultural fabric, because of course it had economic and social ramifications too, because they kept 1,000 years of architecture standing. Anyhow, I got too old to do that when I was 47, and so I retired and became a professional painter. And that was a wonderful, wonderful career, continues to be. And if you want to see my paintings, you can go to my website. It's www.anitarodriguez.com. And then at the age of 55, I became a writer, and I published a book. And it's about New Mexico. And I built the book around recipes, because recipes are the edible history of a family's migrations and the countries that they have passed through. And so by tracing the recipes in my family and words like tamale, which is from the Nahuatl, and talking about the recipes and the cooks in my family, the women who held the family together with their food. And so I structured the entire book around stories about food, but I inserted all kinds of other levels of understanding about my culture, from the psychological to the historical. So basically that's what I'm focusing on right now, is writing. I have started a writing group for people of color. And this has a very specific purpose related to healing, because a lot of people of color right now are hurting so bad that we can't even talk. And I wanted to offer a place that had a few characteristics. None of us of color have ever had much safety or reliability, but I wanted to provide a group that offered both. And so that's what I'm focusing on at the moment. So, I will answer any questions that you have.
My first question, we want to talk about healing. And what does healing mean to you, Anita?
I think healing begins with oneself. Just like the battle against racism begins inside, healing from racism begins inside too.
Mm.
And so I have spent a lot of years reading about and dedicating myself to therapy, seriously, for about 30 years of continuous therapy and deep reading uh, in all branches of psychology, especially Jung. But it helped me enormously and was like probably the pivotal line of thinking in my healing. But as time went on, I began to recognize that Western psychology is deeply misogynist, deeply racist, and deeply Eurocentric. And we need to develop healing modalities that are much more relevant to our experience as peoples of non-European cultures. And we come from traditions that are non-European. For instance, Jung's archetypes, the entire iconography is rooted in Greek iconography, and it works, and it's wonderful, and I love it, and it's rich, and it works. But what about Tezcatlipoca and Huitzilopochtli and the other archetypes that are rooted here in the continent of Turtle Island? That's something that I think that we need to talk about and explore. And one of the things about this institute is that we are importing indigenous healers. We are importing healers whose personal and collective experience has been one of colonization and also with non-European roots. And these are really important for people here in this valley. Because one of the problems I think that we have had in seeking healing from people who are trained in Western medicine is that a lot of times it is not relevant to and doesn't connect with our collective experience. So the people that we are bringing here have experienced personally colonization. And they and their cultures and their communities have developed ways of dealing with it. And so that's one of the things that I think is really important about the healing that we're doing. And another thing is, and this is personal, healing is an ongoing process. You don't get well, you just get more complete. But it's not something that you finish. You don't suddenly say one day, well, I'm a feminist now. Because you're going to have to fight every day of your life to uphold those principles and to walk your talk. And another thing is like I'm so happy about with this institute is that I come from a culture that respects the elders. And we have a saying, we say, El diablo sabe más por viejo que por diablo. The devil knows more from being old than from being the devil. Any more questions?
Yes. So my next question is, what does reconciliation mean to you?
It doesn't mean anything unless I can eat it or take it to the bank. I want concrete change. And I don't pretend that saying I'm sorry is enough, because it isn't. People need to eat. People need health care. People need healing. People need to be seen and heard. They need concrete things. We need to change the laws. The reconciliation, if you can't take it to the bank and you can't eat it, that's over.
So how would you say healing and reconciliation are related?
Well, they're kind of like that old adage, horse and carriage. You know, you need them both. Without reconciliation, healing isn't complete. And the other way around is true too. They not only overlap, in some areas, they're identical.
Thank you. Especially in this time, I would love to hear your thoughts on how can we begin laying out a future of racial healing in this country?
Well, like I say, the time has passed for talking about it.
Mm.
The time has come for acting. And the line has been drawn in the sand. Everybody in this country is on one side or the other. And it's not so much that we have made this choice as that the administration has made this choice for us.
Mm.
You know, everybody has to take sides now.
Mm-hmm.
So now is the time to begin. And I think it depends. I think people of color, we have a tremendous amount of healing to do. We really need to take care of ourselves and take care of each other.
Mm.
And we really need to unite. We come from many, 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 many different cultures, but
Mm.
we have one thing in common now.
Mm.
We all know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matter of life and death.
Mm.
And it's time for white people to start getting serious. And that again starts on the inside.
Mm.
Because there is no longer any excuse for people who can read to say the stupid, dumb shit that they're saying nowadays.
Mm.
You know, there's no excuse. There's lots of books out there, there's discussion groups, and if you can't find one, form one.
Mm.
But start talking about white privilege and white fragility. In order to become a trusted and respected ally, someone, a person of color, can take with them when they go visit their world,
Mm.
without fear that you put both feet in your mouth up to the knees. Sorry. But
Mm.
people really have to do their work.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. So as an artist and a writer, I'd love to hear your perspective on how art and writing play an essential role in the healing of our nation's future.
Well, art saved me. I'm alive because of art.
Mm.
And so here's a kind of a story about how art healed me. And it's kind of like this theory behind this writing group for people of color that I'm forming. Let's say I want to paint my trauma. Let's say that I have had a really ugly, painful, and awful experience, but I have decided that I am going to paint it. And I may not be able to paint what actually happened. I may have to use symbols that nobody but me will understand, but I will understand what they mean.
Mm.
So to start out with, I have to find a piece of canvas that has 4 sides. It has boundaries. So my trauma can't go on forever because it has to be contained within this canvas.
Mm.
Somehow I have to make it fit in there.
Mm.
So I have already kind of stepped back from it a little bit. And then I look at my canvas and I say, or my poem, and I say, you know, it would sound better if I moved this word over here, or if I make this one bluer and bigger. And so I have stepped further back from my trauma. And now I am powerful. I'm manipulating it. I'm moving its parts around. And
Mm.
what is my objective? I'm an artist. I want it to be a piece of art.
Mhm.
I want it to be beautiful.
Mm.
So I keep working with it. And I work with it. And finally, it's not in me anymore. It's in the poem.
Mm.
And I've read the poem out loud. Maybe I've read it to my friends. I've taken the painting and I've turned it upside down and I've looked at it and I've sat there for a long time and said, oh, yeah, I need to do this.
Mm.
It's finished and I made it beautiful. So I took this thing and I transformed it. And you know what I have done? I made a map. I made a map. So now you can look at it and say, oh, that's how Anita screwed it up really bad and then she fixed it. And this is the path she took. Maybe it will work for me. Somebody out there will read that poem. Somebody will read that short story or they'll see that painting and they'll say, oh, yes.
Mm.
So that is how art can heal.
Yes.
And then there's science behind that.
Hmm.
Any therapist will tell you that all healing takes place on the symbolic level. Intellectual analysis of your trauma is not going to do it.
Mm.
And purely emotional reenactment is merely going to re-traumatize you.
Mm.
So you need all three. You need three things. You need the observer who steps back from the canvas, and you need the mind, and you definitely need the heart that says, I want yellow, I want yellow, I want the color of sunshine.
Wow, that's very powerful. Thank you very much. Well, Anita, that wraps up all of my questions. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
No, I can't think of anything unless you have a brilliant question.
We will wrap up there. Thank you so much for taking your time to speak with me today. Thank you everyone who's viewing this video. Please remember to donate at the link in the description below and specify that your donation is to thank Anita, and we will send those funds her way. And we hope you enjoyed hearing from Anita in this installment of the Healing and Reconciliation Institute's Wisdom of Elders series. Stay tuned for the next one.